Stacey Mitchell is a 23-year-old activist interested in alternative lifestyles and different ways of living in community. She's done a lot of travelling, is interested in medicine, natural health, and is interested in communities founded upon sustainable philosophies in the broad community sense and wider society. Thank you, Stacey.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing? First of all, I wanted to say thank you for turning up. Like, you honestly don't know how much this means to everybody that was a part of the committee that created it. It's huge, really. So first of all, I guess a little about myself. I've been living around the Gloucester area for about 11 years now. I went to high school here and consider myself a local. So I've been warned you don't gain that title until you've been here for generations, so still got a way to go. Yeah, pretty much since leaving high school, my main interest was to travel. I've been enamoured by the natural environment and quirky unorthodox people living outside the box. And the combination of these passions led me to my first solo travel around Australia in my van, going up and down the East Coast. And whilst I was doing that, I was invited into the homes and the lifestyles of these types of people, where they taught me the philosophies of self-sufficiency and environmentalism and how to live in harmony with their surroundings. And I was inspired, so I continued to move along and volunteer where I could for organic farms, working and volunteering. And I met, similar-minded people all along the way, until I was first introduced to my first community, where I found people that were creating a space for themselves and one another harmoniously, and it was amazing. So this led me to overseas, where I witnessed more of these communities all throughout the world, I guess, and just learned as much as I could from these people. But yeah, so this is my story until now. And since being asked by Julie to speak here today, I guess I continued to ask myself what it was that I'd say to a group of people that I had complete attention from. People that I lived beside, people that I considered to have all the power in the world to make a difference to the world that we presently live in. And this is what I've got. I come from a country that is both drowning and on fire in the one instant. Genocide now reveals itself in the form of stark white coral and floating upturned bellies. Greed exposes itself through gaping mined-out craters in the earth's crust. I come from a country where we pride ourselves on our natural environment when selling it to tourism, but forget it every day when faced with the easy option and the environmentally friendly one. I come from a society that's lost in its own identity because we've forgotten our heritage, our ancestry. In my short experience of life that stretches solely up and down this coastline to the shores of overseas countries, I see the degradation of the earth everywhere. Waterways polluted, undrinkable and completely uninhabited. Cities and towns having bottled coke more readily accessible than clean drinking water. Civilizations facing the threat of disappearance due to rising water levels. Ancient forests removed and species facing endangerment and extinction. People being bought out or pushed out of generational homes by enterprises contributing to some of the world's largest environmental degradation. Land, flora, fauna and people ravaged by the greed and unconscious living of humanity. Unfortunately, these are the times we live in, where one day we will tell our children and grandchildren of the way things used to be, painting a glorious picture for them cast of hues of green, a world beyond their wildest dreams, flourishing with life in various forms, living symbiotically beside one another. We will tell them of species they'll never see and reminisce about times when clean water and fresh air were not in short supply. This is the future we are presently looking at. The past becoming nothing but a brilliant story. So this is where I am now, completely convinced that every single person in existence has the power to make a difference, to change that future. simply by changing these key concepts in their lifestyle. I'm in the early stages of creating my own business, which is helping the community make these changes and living these philosophies that we practice every day inside the permaculture farms and the communities. Because I know that not everybody has the luxury to do what I've done, which is to travel and experience it. So, yeah, pretty much we are the organelles of a greater organism that need to understand how it is that we fit into everything, how it is that we help ourselves and help each other. This is where the importance of community comes into play, that very seed that enables these alternative societies to exist is purely reliant on their harmony between one another, their ability to exercise patience and understanding with one another. Their vision of an idealistic lifestyle could not be accomplished alone, and so building these communities comes from linked hands and working from every individual's strengths and areas of expertise. This concept I'm attempting to apply to the world at large, attempting to connect individuals within our community. We're as versatile as the world around us. You can feed yourself, you can feed your neighbour, you can create your own medicine and your own cosmetics through learning the properties of plants. You can recycle and refurbish old second-hand clothing and appliances. All that we need is already here. We don't need to produce anymore. If only you trained the eye to see it for what it is and for what it can be. Through these concepts, we are taking the power back into our own hands, cutting out the middleman, and with the same hands shaping our future.